This is the story of a man who was, by all accounts, the richest and wisest person in the entire Bible. His name was King Solomon. He lived this life of incredible highs and just tragic lows, and before he died, he wrote it all down in a book we now call Ecclesiastes. And when you piece his life together, it answers the one question that every single one of us has asked ourselves at some point.
Right? What is the point of all this? What should I be chasing? Well, Solomon, a man who literally chased after everything, gives us this raw, unfiltered, and honestly a deeply shocking answer that cuts right to the heart of what it means to be alive.
Solomon's story really kicks off when he's just 20 years old. He inherits the throne of Israel from his very famous father, King David. And his life, it would span decades of building incredible wealth and power before he finally sat down in his old age to reflect on it all. But the most important moment of his entire life, it happened right at the very beginning.
The ancient story goes that after Solomon made this massive offering to God, 1,000 animals, God suddenly appeared to him in a dream. And this single moment, this dream, it was going to define the entire course of his life. Now, think about this offer for a second. It's unbelievable. God, basically like a genie from a lamp, tells Solomon, ask for whatever you want. I mean, anything. A new palace, limitless power. The possibilities were, quite literally, infinite.
Okay, so let's really get into this because what Solomon asked for and what he got sent him down a path that I don't think anyone could have possibly predicted. He didn't ask for money. He didn't ask for a long life. He asked for wisdom.
And God was so impressed with this selfless request that basically overnight, he granted Solomon this superhuman level of wisdom. I mean, he became the wisest man who had ever lived, speaking over 3,000 proverbs. People would travel from all over the known world just to listen to him. But here is the devastating turn. After a lifetime of having this incredible wisdom, Solomon came to a conclusion that is just shocking. It was useless. He realized that for all his insight, for all his power, he was completely incapable of fixing the fundamental brokenness of the world. He couldn't stop suffering, he couldn't stop injustice. In fact, he discovered this direct and really painful connection. The more he understood about how the world worked, the more sadness and grief he felt. He said that trying to change the world was like chasing the wind. It was impossible and it was just utterly exhausting.
So, if wisdom only brought him pain, what about worldly success? I mean, God didn't just give Solomon wisdom. He also gave him unimaginable riches, power, and respect. So Solomon decided to run an experiment. Could he find fulfillment there instead? I mean, he built these magnificent palaces. He had anything and everything a person could ever want. And yet, the text says he grew to hate his life. Why? Because he was hit by this paralyzing thought. All of my hard work, all this wealth, it's just going to be left to someone else when I die. And what if that person is a complete fool?
Solomon uses this one specific Hebrew word to describe all of these earthly achievements. He uses it 29 times. The word is havel. Now, it doesn't just mean meaningless. It literally means smoke or vapor. And this analogy is just brilliant because it illustrates his point so perfectly. Unlike wind, smoke looks real. You can see it. It looks tangible. But when you reach out your hand to grab it, what happens? Your hand closes on nothing. That's what wealth and status and power felt like to him, a fleeting illusion that just left him completely and totally empty. Now, this way of thinking, that everything is just hevel, just smoke, it drove Solomon to a very, very dark place. Because if nothing under the sun really matters, then why follow any rules, not even God's?
See, way before Israel even had a king, God laid out 3 specific rules for any future ruler. They were designed as guardrails, to keep the king's heart focused. And Solomon, well, he would go on to break every single one.
First, God said not to multiply horses, especially from Egypt, because that was a symbol of trusting in your own military might instead of in God. So what does Solomon do? He builds a gigantic army of 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horsemen, and yeah, he got many of them directly from Egypt.
Second, God warned not to pile up silver and gold. Solomon brought in so much wealth that the Bible says silver became as common as stones in Jerusalem. The amount of gold he received every single year was a staggering 666 talents.
And the third rule? This one was personal. Do not multiply wives for yourself, or your heart will turn away. Solomon didn't just break this rule, he completely shattered it. He had 700 wives and 300 concubines. He was like an addict with unlimited power to feed his appetite. And just like that ancient warning predicted, his heart was turned away. Influenced by his foreign wives, he started to worship their gods, and this descent took him into the darkest rituals you can imagine, ending with the worship of Moloch, a deity who actually demanded the sacrifice of children. The wisest man on earth had become a monster.
So, how on earth do we find an answer to life's biggest question in all of this wreckage? Well, here's the crucial point. Solomon's despair, it isn't the final word. The ultimate lesson actually comes from someone else.
Solomon's own personal conclusion is just bleak. He says everyone dies, everything is hevel, everything is smoke. It's a statement of complete and utter hopelessness. But the book doesn't end there.
In the final verses, a brand new voice appears. An unnamed author who seems to have been quoting Solomon this whole time finally steps in to speak for himself, and he frames Solomon's entire life for us.
He says that Solomon's words are like goads, those sharp, pointy sticks used to poke cattle. They hurt, for sure, but their purpose isn't to leave us in pain. It's to push us away from all the dead ends that Solomon explored and to steer us toward the one path that isn't smoke.
And what is that direction? The author gives us the conclusion of the whole matter. He says, live your life with an awareness of God and follow his ways, because this life isn't the end. There is a judgment where every secret thing will be brought into the light. Our lives matter precisely because they have eternal consequences. You see, Solomon's life serves as this massive cautionary tale. He shows us that a life lived only under the sun for things that are temporary will always, always end in emptiness. So the final question isn't Solomon's to answer, it's ours. If earthly success is all just smoke, then what are you building that will actually last